¿Qué lo que, Minnesota? You're listening to Puro Deportes. I'm Jeffrey Bissoy, joined today by my guy, Gustavo. I'm going to do a little introduction into him in just a moment. Eric is out sick with the norovirus. Get better soon, Eric. Que vuelve bien. And of course, Puro Deportes is brought to you by Vida y Deportes. Go and give us some love on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on Threads. We're on Twitter. And we got a really good one for you. We're breaking down the World Cup 2026 group stage. And I had to throw kind of like a last minute Hail Mary. Eric was like, yo no sé si puedo llegar en ese episodio. I was like, yo, Goose, I think I need a little Tico love on this podcast. So, Goose, what's up, baby? How you living?
Hey Jeff, thank you for having me. Everything's good. Too cold though. Very cold. For people that are not in Minnesota, like it's like 4 inches of snow out there. So
No, it's all bad. I just got done spending 2 hours snowing and shoveling snow on my sidewalk because we got a corner property. So I got to do like a big L. It was like 6 inches. I was like, I got bored of this. It's only December.
yeah.
But you've been cozy in your little tower. You haven't had to deal with the real winter, have you?
Yeah, I haven't had to shovel, but it's really inconvenient when you need to buy something. Need to go outside to the supermarket or wherever you need to go. Driving with the snow, it's kind of dangerous. Yeah, it's not great, but we'll make it.
Absolutely. Before we dive into this little breakdown, I do gotta ask you, and you gotta apologize. I gotta apologize if you take this the wrong way. Is this hard for you to do predictions for the World Cup, knowing that Costa Rica no llegó?
I think actually it makes me a little more objective because I don't have any any invested interest in the teams that are playing. It was hard for us though, like as a Costa Rica, it was hard for us. This qualifying campaign was horrible. We come from Qatar 2022 when we were humiliated by Spain. Like that match we lost like 7-0 or something like that. So I think it was like the end of an era, and now we're like in a bit of a crisis mode. Hopefully 4 years from now we'll be back. Hopefully.
Ojalá. I feel you. Cameroon also did not make it to the World Cup, and I don't feel mad. I'd rather them not embarrass me at the World Cup stage than them
Exactly. Yeah,
show
yeah.
up.
It's better to leave it there, like, okay, we didn't qualify and just work on it.
Absolutely. All right, you ready to dive into these groups?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so we have, at least, a solid little 10 groups here. So we're going to go from Group A all the way to Group L. We're going to list all the teams in the group. There are playoffs in this new World Cup layout. There's way more teams because,
Mhm.
money talks.
I
And
think
so
it's
we'll start.
16 teams, right? 16 more
Yes,
teams.
16 more teams. I think it's 48 teams in total, which is
Mhm.
ridiculous. But you know what? Toda la gente gana que tiene dinero. Yo no tengo dinero, así que yo no gano. Pero that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with Group A, where we have Mexico, Korea, South Africa, and then the winner of whoever the playoff D group is, which is Denmark, Macedonia, Czechia, and Republic of Ireland. When you look at Group A right now, if you had to choose your two favorites, who sticks out to you and why?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Mexico and South Korea, definitely. Mexico, they have like the home turf advantage, and South Korea did a great qualifying round. They're really strong right now. I think they're like in 21st position in the FIFA ranking, so that's pretty good. I think South Korea has a lot of talent. They have Song Heung-min. They have like they have really good players right now. So definitely South Korea.
Nah, South Korea is really good, and in fact, I think I'm hearing a look. Did I hear myself back? Okay, I think we're good. South Korea is pretty good. They also beat Mexico, or they tied with Mexico 2-2 recently. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. I am a huge fan of their national team. Obviously, you name Hung Sun, who's currently playing with LAFC. He's obviously incredible, but they have a lot of players playing throughout Europe. I think it's kind of Mexico by default. Like Eric's not here to talk about Mexico, And I know that mis compas from Mexico are like, yeah, tú me abandonaste, te fuiste, ahora tú estás hablando mierda de Mexico. It has nothing to do with that. It just has to do with I don't buy Mexico as a powerhouse right now. And here's what I'll say, Goose.
Yeah.
Playoff D is going to be very interesting. I don't believe Macedonia is coming out of this group. They can just, come to the
Yeah.
U.S., enjoy their little vacation, and then go celebrate in Cabo. All right.
Yeah.
Czechia, eh.
I, yeah, I think it's going to be Denmark, to be honest, the one that's going to make it in. And I think Denmark can be uncomfortable, like an uncomfortable team to play against. It's going to be it's probably going to be tighter than we were expecting. But like South Africa did a really bad qualifying campaign. Like I mean, it was very chaotic. So I think that it's definitely, like the chances are in favor of Mexico. I would say more because of the atmosphere, the culture. They're playing at home.
Yeah.
There's pressure from the people, right? So I think that's what's going to make the difference in my view, right?
Oh
I
man,
mean,
I bet. I mean, they have the opener at home, but I'm not sure if they're playing the rest of their games at home. But I will say this to your point about the Danes. I forget, I think it was Gattuso recently who was like, "Yo, Europe should have way more teams playing in the World Cup. The best teams cut out of Europe, and this, and the third." I don't agree with that, but I
yeah,
will say there are a lot of great European teams, and there's a gap between your France and the Englands, and your Spains and the Denmarks and the Norways and the Irelands. But the
yeah,
Denmarks, the Norways, and the Irelands are actually really, really good. And if
mm,
Denmark actually wins in the playoff, heck, if Ireland wins in the playoff, South Korea and Mexico should not feel comfortable because both of those teams can make it to the round of 16. That's all I'm
yeah,
saying about Group A.
yeah, yeah,
Do not sleep on Denmark and Ireland making it out and just making this group an absolute shitstorm.
yeah, yeah. This is a tough group, actually. In terms of like predicting who's gonna make it through. Yeah.
You know, I think that's where the playoff kind of like throws things in the wrench because you're like, well, definitely these two teams, but then you're like, wait, we don't know which of these four teams is going to make it. All right, on to Group B. We have the second host, Canada, Switzerland, Qatar, and then here are the teams coming up through the UEFA playoff A group: Italy, Northern Ireland, Wales, and Bosnia Herzegovina. All right. So when you look at Group B, what stands out to you? If you had to pick two, where are you leaning?
I would say Canada and Switzerland, definitely. Canada again. I think that the home turf is a pressure. It's an advantage. I know it's not huge, a huge advantage or anything like that. But I think Canada has a strong team. I mean, last World Cup they didn't do very well, so I'm thinking that this time around they're gonna want to improve their performance and Switzerland is doing great. Like they have I forget what's the name of the goalkeeper. He's really good. Well, they have Shaqiri too. So, Summer, right? Summer is
Summer's
the
really good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think definitely Canada and Switzerland for me they would be the favorites. And in terms of like the European playoffs, I'm hoping that Italy makes it just because of the sake of like football history. But I don't know if Italy makes it, I don't think they're gonna be like strong candidates either because they've been out for like the past two World Cups. I mean, you never know with Italy. There's a caveat, right? Like you never know. Italy can surprise you, but I don't think they're in the strongest form right now. And then Bosnia, Wales. I don't see them being like strong opposition, right?
Wow, that's Harvey Barnes erasure. I think Harvey Barnes is Welsh. I may have gotten that wrong. I think maybe he's Irish. I think I got that wrong. Oh,
Well,
now
oh,
I
so
gotta
we
look
didn't
it
talk
up to
about
make
Qatar.
sure.
We
Who?
didn't mention Qatar, but like Qatar, I think they did a decent job in defending like last last World Cup, like defending themselves, but not they were not outstanding, and I don't think they're gonna be strong this time around either.
No, they're not going to be strong. Also, Harvey Barnes is Scottish and
Oh,
British,
okay.
and so he's not Irish. Anywho, I think I agree with you. Definitively, Canada passes. I Switzerland is a funny team for me because Yeah, Shaqiri's good, but he's older now. Brel and Bolo, Cameroon legends, good, but he's not that good. But then every time they go to the World Cup, they always play better than what you expect them to be.
Yeah.
So I think right now, until we know more from who's joining them from the playoff group, I would have to go Switzerland. But if I had to throw a team that really could put a wrench in all their plans, Italy has caliber.
Hmm.
They won the Euros then not the most recent one, the one prior to that, out of nowhere.
Yeah.
They have players now that are kind of good. So they're an intriguing team, not one to be slept on. But again, they have to get through Northern Ireland, Wales, and Bosnia. That might just be, the part of the World Cup is also being healthy
Hmm.
and showing up with no injuries. Like with all the football that these players are playing, Italy's the one team where, let's say Sandro Tonali gets injured,
Hmm.
forget it, right? Like he
Yeah.
is the engine of that team. So I'll have to go Canada and Switzerland.
Yeah. So let's go on
Let
to Group C, right?
Group
Now,
C. We have Brazil,
Morocco.
Morocco, Scotland, and Haiti. Why did
Yeah.
they have to do Haiti like this, Goose? Haiti was so happy to make it to their second World Cup ever. His first one since 1974. They qualify on the same day that they're celebrating a 200-year celebration of post-colonialism. And it's a celebration. They weren't able to play in their home country. They made it to the World Cup playing outside of their homeland, and now every one of the Haitian demographic was going to fly to the US if they weren't in the US already to show love. And then they were like, you know what, Haiti? Thank you so much for playing so hard. You know who
It's,
you deserve? Brazil. You know who you also deserve? African champions and semifinalists, Marruecos. Oh, you know who
yeah.
you also deserve? One of the most underrated teams in Europe, which is Scotland, where our guy Scott McTominay, we've talked about on the podcast,
Mhm.
has been playing like he's the godfather of Italy. So Haiti, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry, baby, but thank you for showing up. I
I
had to
think,
give them
yeah,
their moment.
it is a horrible group for Haiti. Like, but I mean, I think Haiti has potential.
Yeah.
Not to get out of this group alive, but yeah, they have potential. They actually we played against Haiti, and Haiti defeated us. They were the ones that left us outside of the World Cup, and I like kudos to them because they played really well. Like I'm not, this is not biased at all. Like honestly, objectively, they have a strong team. They have a lot of passion. I think you're gonna see that group. Like I think it's gonna be tighter than we were anticipating because Scotland is also a very passionate team. Like they play really
Scotland's
good.
good. They're
Yeah,
very good.
yeah, and they're doing interesting stuff. Like Haiti's doing interesting stuff. They have good players, a little bit old, like Nazon and others, and younger players also like are coming into the fold. But it's definitely Brazil, Morocco, I think.
So here are some names because obviously Brazil, Morocco are going to be the top two, but I do want to focus a little bit on Scotland because there's not we can talk about group of death when we're done going through the tables and seeing which
Mhm,
one's the toughest group.
mhm.
I think this one sticks out for me,
Yeah.
not in the traditional sense of like you have all like two, three powerhouses, but you have a
Mhm.
powerhouse and you have an African powerhouse, and then Scotland. Here's some players who play for Scotland. Barnes is not on the team, but he could be added onto it. There is conversations that he could end up joining Scotland by the end. He's been waiting out to join England. He's playing at Newcastle right now. He's on fire. But here are players who are actually on the roster. Scott McTominay, the Godfather,
Yeah.
Napoli legend. All right. He was voted the best player in Italy by all the Italian players, which is crazy. Andrew Robertson, people are going to say he's a corpse right now, but he's looked better than he had over
Liverpool
the
is a
last year.
corpse right now, not just Andy
Exactly.
Ross.
And I hate to say that because it's always rest in peace, Diogo Jota. But
Mhm.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
in his passing, it's left a very down group. Ben Doak, who's really good. John McGinn from Aston Villa.
Mhm.
They have Kieran Tierney, who
Tierney. Yeah.
scored a golazo in the qualifiers to make
Yeah.
it. Former Southampton striker Che Adams, who's I. Scott McKenna, decent defender. Billy Gilmore, Chelsea legend.
Mhm.
Aaron Hickey, who plays for Brentford. I'm seeing if anybody else here sticks out to me. But again, we're naming players who are either playing in the Premier League, have played in the Premier League, playing in other areas, like in the case of Scott McTominay for Napoli, where he's been a legend ever since he's been there. This is a very good soccer team. So I ask you again, in this particular group, Goose, you sticking with Brazil and Marruecos? Is that it? Scotland doesn't have an
I
outside
mean,
chance?
the thing about like Scotland and other European teams, we're gonna get into it later, I guess, because we're gonna talk about Belgium. But like they can have great players individually, but as a team, sometimes it's hard to make them understand each other. That to adopt like a style and strategy that makes sense. I think in like as I don't know, like Brazil for me is the weakest link in those two that I'm saying, like Brazil and Morocco. Scotland could take over Brazil because I think Morocco's way stronger than Brazil. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. In terms of if you see like the strategy, the players, the way that they're playing together, the way that the coach is able to the more flexible players. I would say Morocco has that. Brazil is more like they can do a great performance, but it will take you so far, right? And Scotland, if they play that, like let's say like they organize themselves the right way and understand how to read the other teams that are in the group, they might put Brazil in trouble. But I think it's gonna be hard because Brazil is also a very passionate team, so they're gonna play with their hearts. Like that's how they play. And you saw like whenever they like in the past couple of World Cups, they've not performed super. Like it hasn't been like above average, but like they have done their best. And I don't know, like in my view, sometimes passion beats. I'm not saying Scotland doesn't have the passion, but I'm saying passion sometimes can beat talent, right? So
I agree with you on a lot of those things. I think passion is huge, but I think this is a group where organization and talent might be bigger than passion. Morocco to me is one of those teams. I think part of the reason they were so good at the last World Cup, it's not that they took teams by surprise, maybe because other teams underestimated them, but they were very organized. And that hasn't changed. In fact, they've gotten even better. Okay. They're
yeah,
an incredible team. I like to disrespect them because African banter, but I have to respect them for the sake of this exercise. They're a very, very good team. Here's what I'll say about Brazil because you were talking a little bit crazy about Brazil. All right. Brazil is a strange team that has not been the Brazil that we recognized in the 90s and the early mid 2000s, right? And they truly haven't been the same since they lost 7-1 to Germany at home in Brazil. All right.
yeah.
But I think this is a very unique group for them. I think there's competition at every position except this is Brazil's this is Brazil's Achilles heel is their wingback play. It's crazy that the country of Roberto Carlos, Marcelo, Dani Alves has not been able to give us new age wingbacks that can really bring it all together. They got Gabriel, who's amazing. Arsenal's obviously hoping that he stays healthy. The world is hoping that he stays healthy. Marquinhos is still pretty good at his age. But then you look at the rest, and it's like Alexandro, what year is it? Is this 2014? Why is Alexandro still on the team? Um,
Yeah,
so,
Militao.
but
Well, he's not a
Militao,
wing. He's not a wing. But yeah,
but sometimes they play him there because they're forced to,
yeah,
and I think that's where they're weak. Obviously, Ellison Becker is one of the best goalkeepers in the world on his day.
yeah.
But where I like Brazil this year, and I think people are not talking about them the way that they should, their midfield is probably the best that it's been in a very long time. And I'm not talking about galactical midfielders. I'm talking about midfielders that can really just swallow up other opposing teams' defenses like Bruno Guarmares, Lucas Paqueta is really good if he gets called up again. They have Joel Linton, who's also very good. They have Casemiro, who's finding his form again. Why? He probably heard that he knows the World Cup is coming, so he's finding his form again. Young Andre Santos from Chelsea, who's knocking on the door of getting some playing time as well. And here is the quiet thing in the background that all real fans are trying to figure out, Goose. You know what it is?
What?
It's Neymar. It's Neymar.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's
Nah,
Neymar. And folks have not been talking about it enough. This man, we know what he's been through. He's 33 years old. He's a world beater on his day. He was the best player in the world on his day. All right.
Yeah.
All the knee injuries, all the beatings, all the carrying Brazil on his back wore him down. He went back to save Santos. Santos was on the brink of going down. This
Yeah.
boy
Yeah.
tore his meniscus. And he said, what? I'm not getting that surgery until I save Santos from relegation. And what does he do? Golazo. Después que golazo. Y quema. Otro golazo. And what
Yeah.
does he do? He saved Santos from relegation, and then he said, "You know what, Dale, I'm gonna go grab my operation for my knee." He went to a special doctor who has worked with other futbolistas, who he has saved them a year in recovery. And here's what Carlos Ancelotti said. All right, they also have Ancelotti at manager, which is also important here. Ancelotti said, "Mira, you guys keep asking me about Neymar. Keep asking me about Neymar. Look, I like Neymar. If Neymar is healthy, I will consider bringing him back to the national team." So all I'm saying is,
Yeah.
Brasil.
That's what I mean when I say the passion is there. I also think Rafinha did a great Champions League with Barca last.
Underrated, very
Yeah,
underrated.
very underrated. And so I think there's like Brazil can cruise first place. I see that happening. Morocco could also cruise first place if they wanted to. Like I don't know how it's gonna turn out based on all these variables that we're talking about. But I think that for Scotland to catch up with that kind of like I don't know, like I feel like Scotland has been out of World Cups for such a long time that it takes a while to like I guess understand your rivals, understand how like the different styles in around the world play out. Like it's not the same to play against Brazil and Morocco. Like there are different styles of play, and they're like they could like Brazil can surprise you any day.
Yeah.
So I think yeah, but I think we should go on to Group D because that's a that's an interesting group. That's really tricky.
I guess it's interesting. All right, Group D for me is actually probably the least interesting group out of all of them. You guys, Estados Unidos, USA,
Yeah,
Australia, Paraguay, and then the playoff winner between Turkey, Romania, Slovakia, and Kosovo. All right.
yeah.
So first off, thinking about the playoff D, who do you think comes out of that? Out of that
So
group?
Turkey, if Turkey comes out of that, that's what it would make it an interesting group because Turkey
Yeah.
has always been really good. It's a very defensive team. The U.S. I think it's I mean I would say they are gonna go through just because of the home turf advantage in the win or the pressure. Just
They're going to pull strings behind un poco de corrupción, un chin de corrupción to make sure they win.
I'm not saying that. I can attest to that, but everything is possible. It's soccer, right? But Paraguay, I think, has a strong standing for second place or first place. They have a good team right now. I think that the coach Gustavo Alfaro, and I'm very biased in that sense because he was the coach for Costa Rica and then he left for
Mira,
Paraguay.
mira los ticos. Look at them.
No, but Gustavo Alfaro has made miracles with Paraguay. Paraguay was having a difficult qualifying campaign, and he came in. He found a way to make these players play together. They have Almiron. They have very very young talent. So that's what Gustavo Alfaro also did with Costa Rica. He kind of picked up on the young talent that nobody was looking at, and he put together like a starting 11 that was really really good at the time, or at least from his strategic perspective, because you know, just to say, I'm not going to go into the details, but El Piojo, who then took over Costa Rica, he left basically the same 11 players. So he did a good job in finding talent, and I think that's his main strength, finding talent and making it work. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think if it's Turkey in there, it's gonna be. I would say the U.S. would be in trouble, like or Paraguay. Australia, I think, is gonna be like the sacrificial lamb. Like, I don't think I don't see Australia like doing an outstanding job right now.
See, this group is uninteresting, but I guess you've talked me into it being kind of interesting. Um, I think USA runs this group. It's not going to be easy, but I think it will be comfortable.
Mhm.
For lack of better words. The USA has quietly become a good team. I think people look down on them because it's the US. They've invested a lot of money in recent years. They've changed a lot of their coaches to try to figure it out. There's been a lot of bad talk about Pochettino and the culture, but Pochettino's actually done a good job. I think USA should run with this. Australia, thank you for showing up. I just don't see it for you. Chris Wood, who's their talisman, has been battling a knee injury since the beginning of the season. The rest of the team just doesn't know how to function without him. Paraguay, to your point, I think makes this really interesting. And also, if Turkey does win, which I think they will, I think that will make things difficult for USA. But I think as of right now, it's definitely a USA thing, and it's more a question of who comes second.
Yeah.
And to your point, I hope Paraguay comes through. I always love it when an underdog team comes through, a team that we haven't seen at the World Cup since the 90s. So
Yeah.
onto the group that, the French in me is like, this group right here is c'est mon chouchou. C'est mon chouchou. Is my baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really like this group for football and not footballing reasons. All right. Group E, you got Germany, Ecuador, Cote d'Ivoire, Curacao. All right. Why is this group my baby? All right. Cote d'Ivoire is one of my favorite African teams outside of Cameroon. We're fraternal brothers. We beef. We have love for each other. And they're just a very fun, great team. A lot of talented players on Cote d'Ivoire right now. Ecuador, Moises Caicedo, Gendry Paez. All right. What more can I say? Hincapie from Arsenal. The talent is there. They are entering their golden generation, and they're all in their early 20s. Okay. This team is crazy. Curacao, a team that is smaller than St. Paul. All right,
Yeah.
200,000 people on the island of Curacao. What have they been doing? They've been recruiting all the Dutch Curaçaoan players who are playing in the Eredivisie, who are playing in Germany and Austria. This is a team that has slowly been creeping through the ranks, and now they're at the World Cup. Finally, no playoffs, no nothing. They are at the World Cup. And then you have Germany, a team that is trying to come back from the dead after just their golden generation dying. This younger generation hasn't been quite at the level we want them to be at. This is a fun group. And I
Yeah.
hate that they're all in the same group together.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think they're like Curacao, they did a really good like in CONCACAF campaign. I mean, let's be honest, the level CONCACAF level is not the best right now. We saw that last World Cup. Most of the CONCACAF teams left in the first round. So, like we're not like the best confederation oh, sorry, the federation to uh, to actually become competitive in that sense for Curacao. And I think there's a lot of weird like things going on in Honduras, in Costa Rica, in terms of like Guatemala, in terms of football. Like we're having this generational transition, and I'm not taking away the credit for Curacao because they have a good team, a really strong team in terms of like their players. As you mentioned, they play most in the Eredivisie, and the Dutch Premier League. But I mean, if you look at Ecuador, for example, which I think would be the closest kind of rival, or Ecuador has a lot of talent. The problem with Ecuador though is that they don't have forwards. I mean, that's why they keep calling Enter Valencia, right? Even though he's like almost like 40.
The legend, he's still
Yeah, he's a
only
legend.
36. He's
I
still
love
only
Enter Valencia.
36. It's
I
a
love Enter
jovencito.
Valencia.
That's young.
I'm just saying that the reason why they keep calling him is because they don't really have someone that can create so many dangerous plays up in the field, and so they have a lot of like great midfielders like Caicedo. They have great defense like Pacho, Icapie. Like they have a lot of things going on in their favor, but up like they lack goals basically. And if
Yeah.
you see the results, like in the qualifying campaigns and in the friendly matches, it's usually like 1-0 or like the difference is very tight. So you can see that in Ecuador. Ivory Coast, I think you know them better than I do. I don't know how you see them standing.
I think Ivory Coast is the definition of Wahala football. All right. They muck it up. They're fast. They're electric. They love to hit you on counters. I think the challenge that they have is a challenge that a lot of African football teams have, which is their defense is just not as good, right? The Jean-Michel Seri, who played a little bit in the Premier League. He's played in Ligue 1. He's played in Italy. Really good player. Franck Kessié, incredible
Yes, yeah.
midfielder
Mm.
from in Italy. Ibrahim Sangare, who's a great player. They're bringing back Wilfred Zaha, who's playing in the U.S. now, but he Crystal Palace legend. You have Amad Diallo. We know Amad from Manchester United. You've got Willy Boley, who is still somehow playing for this team. Shout out to Willy Boley, still playing for the national team. Seko Fofana, who's now 30, who's also on the roster. Their striker up top is a Premier League flop who then turned out to be a really good striker elsewhere. I think he went to go play in the Eredivisie and becomes one of their top goal scorers. Sebastian Haller. Sebastian Haller, I got to say right now, per form, has been one of the better African strikers. Currently playing for FC Utrecht. So this is a team that scores goals. I think the biggest challenge that they have is that if they go up against another team that likes to score goals, it'll probably end up being a 2-2 affair or a 2-1 affair. And honestly, advantage goes towards the defensive team. So I can see Cote d'Ivoire dropping points to Curacao. I can
Mm.
see them dropping points to Ecuador simply for the fact that if it ends up being a shooting affair, I'm going to lean towards a team with a stronger defense.
Yeah.
The defense is not very good.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think
So,
Germany, we haven't mentioned Germany, but I think Germany has like the strongest chances to go through. Just because, they have so many talent, like Musiala, Kai Havertz. Um, but I don't know if you think they're gonna go through first. I'm skeptical
no, they're
in
going in. They're
first or
going in
second.
first.
Yeah,
They're
you
going in
think?
first. I mean, if they don't go through first, I think it would still be kind of an embarrassment to Germany, and that's not to
Yeah.
disrespect Ecuador. That's not to disrespect Cote d'Ivoire. That's definitely not to disrespect Curacao. I think talent for talent, when you talk about names, Nick Woltemade, who's breaking out with Newcastle right now, Florian Wirtz, who still has not scored in the Premier League, but we know what he's capable of when he
Yeah.
puts on the German jersey. Joshua Kimmich, Leroy Sané, Oliver Baumann,
It's too
Karim
much.
Adeyemi,
Yeah.
Serge Gnabry, Leon
Nabry.
Goretzka,
Uh,
Jonathan Tah in defense. I mean, these are players. Kevin Schade with Brentford, who's very underrated. One of
mhm.
my favorite center backs in the Premier League right now, Malik Dia, working playing for Newcastle. So again, these are some of the names, and I already know I'm forgetting a few. You mentioned Musiala, Chelsea legend. Um, this is a team. Kai Havertz coming back from his injury. This is a team that is built to go far in the World Cup. I'm not betting on them to win the World Cup. I'm not even betting on them to make to the semifinals. But if Germany finds a way to finish second, or even worse, flame out of this group, then we have to have some serious conversations about the German Soccer Federation, which I've been saying for the last decade since they let go of Joachim Low. But they should comfortably win this league, this particular group.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think the way I see it is going to be Germany and probably I don't know if Ivory Coast or Ecuador, but I find it hard to believe that Curacao will make it. They could be the revelation, like what you never
Yo,
know.
I hope
Yeah.
they make it. Their
Yeah,
first World
I
Cup
hope so
ever.
too. Like I'm not I'm not hating on Curacao, just to be clear.
All right, let's move on to Group F, which is honestly very timely because we mentioned Curacao, and we know when we mentioned Curacao, we mentioned
Netherlands.
Netherlands. Netherlands is in Group F. Netherlands, Japan, Tunisia, and then they have a playoff group from playoff Group B, which is Sweden, Ukraine, Poland, and Albania. If I had to pick a playoff team to pull through here, I would say probably Sweden is a team I
Yeah.
think makes it out of here. But
Or
this is
Poland.
Poland's not bad. Lewandowski
Poland's
still
not
has a
bad.
little
Yeah.
bit of juice. Still has a
Yeah.
little bit of juice. But I'm leaning. I think this team is a Japan and Netherlands or bust. I
Yeah.
think the gap between Japan and Tunisia is sizable, and the gap between whoever comes out of playoff Group B is kind of sizable as well. I think those two teams are heavily favored to win, and honestly, Japan could win this group. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they did a great performance last time in Qatar, and I think that Japan and Netherlands have like a very like well the Netherlands have like great quality of players right now. You know, like Depay, Gakpo, Xavi Simons. You know, like they have a lot of
Timber,
talent.
Delete,
Too
VVD.
many, too many. Yeah,
You mentioned Gakpo, Depay still
yeah,
playing.
Depay,
No, they're good. Frankie De Jong
yeah.
is still on the team. They're a very, very good team.
Yeah, I mean, and not to maybe somebody who's listening would can think that Depay is out of the picture because he's playing Brazil or whatever. Like he's crushing it in Brazil. Like he's
Oh,
playing with
he
Corinthians.
is.
I mean, Corinthians is not in its best moment, but he's crucial to maintaining Corinthians. I don't know where in the table they are right now, but you know, like it could be worse. That's what I mean. Without him, he's been scoring a lot in Brazil. So I think that the Netherlands has an interesting an interesting style and a good like a good pool of talent. Japan has always been very technical, so they've always been like they play a very technical football that I think Tunisia, even though Tunisia is like a pretty organized team, I don't think they match up with Japan's like style. And then Poland and Sweden, I don't know, like you know, like I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but if you're in the playoff to get the extra spot, you're probably not in your best moment, right? So
Mm.
I'm a little biased when I see those, like, but they could also be, you know, like I mean, Poland is always uncomfortable, Sweden is always uncomfortable, so it could also put the group into a little more drama. I don't know, it could spice it up, but I agree with you. Like Netherlands, Japan, they're gonna come out.
So I'm gonna name you some Japanese players, and here's we talked about Netherlands are a great team. They should be the favorite of all the teams here, but I think Japan has something to say. Maybe it's because I watch a lot of Blue Lock. Maybe it's because I watch a lot of high school Japanese games, and these players look like they're already signed pros. But here are some players on this team that folks may be familiar with. Shoyoshi Watanabe in defense, who's very good. Wataru Endo, who's at Liverpool right now. Takumi Minamino, who played at Liverpool. Daichi Kamada, Leeds center midfielder. Very no, Crystal Palace center midfielder. Really, really good. Ao Tanaka is at Leeds, who's just a destroyer in the midfield. And then you have Takefusa Kubo. If you're a Real Madrid fan, you're familiar with Kubo, who I believe he's not at Real Sociedad. I
Yep,
think
Real
that's where he's
Sociedad.
at. Just
Yeah,
killing it.
yeah.
And then up top, you have Maeda, who's been crazy. And of course, one of the names that we really want to see here, of course, is our guy from Brighton. I'm blanking on his name right now. He broke onto the scene a few years ago. Kaoru Mitoma. Will
Mm.
Mitoma be healthy enough to actually be on this roster? Because when he does play, this dude is electric. Are you familiar with Kaoru Mitoma and like why he's so good at dribbling? Are you familiar with him at all?
No, I'm not. Sorry.
So he's this like 28-year-old Premier League player. He's older, and he broke out like 2 years ago and had like 8 goals, 10 assists, and he plays at left wing. Older player. He's battled injuries over the last year. And the dude was probably the best dribbler in the Premier League. Okay. He was dribbling through everybody. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, this is Blue Lock come to life. This is crazy. And part of the reason why he's so good at dribbling, the dude has a master's. All right. And he wrote his master's thesis on how to be the best dribbler in the world.
Wow.
And so he studied basically all the best dribblers in the world and studied defenses and said, to be a master dribbler, here's what you have to do. And I'm like, if you're doing your master's on dribbling and you're also a soccer player, you better be the best dribbler I've ever seen. And Gaudu, when healthy, he is a very, very special talent. So Japan, not to be slept on by any means. And I want to quickly mention Sweden if they're able to win their playoff group. You mentioned teams in the playoffs or teams that are not in their best moments. I always put a caveat for Europe because there are a lot of good European teams. To Gattuso's point, but I don't think he's right. All right, we're not taking away from Africa. We're not taking away from South America just to give Europe more teams. Figure it out. But they do have some really good players on this team. Emil Kraft in defense, Lindelof, Goodman Sin, Up top, obviously, you have Cameroon legend Anthony Elanga. You have Alexander Isak, who's not in his best form by any means. So again, this is not a team. Yassine Ayari, who's starting center midfielder for Brighton as well. So again, this is a team which European top league caliber, who I would pick as my choice coming out of the playoff. And if they do come out, they could make things interesting for Japan. But this is a really interesting group.
Yeah. Oh, let's go to the next group. It's Belgium. This is Group G. Belgium, Iran, Egypt, and New Zealand. Uh, so I see that group as uh, there's going to be a little bit of a toss between Iran and Egypt for the second place, but I think Belgium is going to go through easily. Um, they also have a lot of talent, but they have a lot of drama too. Like I'm hoping that everybody knows what I'm talking about, but it's been out in the news like how there's a lot of friction between the players, and they have these rivalries between them. So I mean, I don't think they're close to fixing that situation. We saw it in Qatar play out, and so I don't know. I think they're gonna make it through, but I don't know how far it's gonna take them in the tournament.
Yeah, but I think Belgium has had its day. The golden generation's old. They are not who they used to be. I think obviously Jeremy Doku is keeping the spirit alive, but I think they're cooked. But
Yeah.
I think this group is probably the least interesting group. I'm sorry to Iranian fans. I'm sorry to Egypt friends. I'm sorry to Oceania. I don't really care about any team in this group. Belgium definitely wins. If I had to pick a team to come out second, I probably would go Iran. Iran has played well in the World Cup before. Taremi is one of the underrated strikers
Mhm.
in the world at the moment. Egypt has a tendency of choking at the World Cup stage. In New Zealand, it's self-explanatory. This is a really easy group. It should be Belgium and Iran. We'll see how it plays out. Group H, where we have España, Uruguay, Saudi Arabia, and Cabo Verde. Talk to me.
Yeah, I think this is pretty clear cut. Spain, Uruguay, first and second. Spain has
You,
an
you,
amazing.
you don't like the Islanders. What did Islanders do to you? First it was Curacao. You weren't rocking with Haiti. Now Cabo Verde just like, oh, obrigado, sorry.
No, but
Ciao.
I mean, well, come on, like the talent in Spain is ridiculous, right? Like they have Ferran Torres, Lamine Yamal, Nico Williams, like Pedri. They won the Euro. I mean, they're gonna cruise through this group. And Uruguay has a lot of talent too. Like they have Darwin Nunez, they have Valverde. I don't see a lot of competition coming from Saudi Arabia or Cape Verde in that sense. Like I don't think they're a match for this amount of talent. It's just me. I mean, I just don't. It's not an
See,
island thing. It's just like
see,
that's how I see it.
see. Now I gotta take the toxic side. All right. Spain is Spain. We know they're running away with this group. 9 points. All
Yeah.
right. Uruguay just lost 4-1 to Team USA. All right. Was it 4-1, 5-1? I don't know. There's a lot of goals. All right. Saudi Arabia, thank you for showing up. Here's what
Yeah.
I'll say about Cabo Verde. There is no team that has infuriated me more than Cabo Verde. I don't understand why they're good. I don't understand where they came from, but they've beaten Cameroon, I think, twice now over the last year. Not to say that Cameroon is some world beater, but Cabo Verde has no history. Okay. And they've beaten a lot of the big African teams. No, they've really made life hard for the big
Mm.
African teams. They've made it far in the last AFCON. AFCON's going to be starting soon, and so it's going to be a great opportunity if you're not familiar with Cabo Verde to check out their playing style. They're fast. They have a lot of that kind of Portuguese, Cabo Verde blended players. Think Nani, right? Who was Cabo Verdean, but what played for the national team of Portugal back in the day. This is a fast, electric, counter-attacking team that muck things up, that's organized in that same Curacao play. And I'm just saying, Uruguay struggled against Team USA, who was not a world beater, but a respectable, good team. I
Yeah.
think that Cabo Verde Uruguay game could be a trap game for Uruguay, and that makes things interesting. I'm not picking Cabo Verde to come out of here. I'm just saying, do not sleep on them. That's all I'm saying. That's
Yeah,
all I'm
I mean,
saying.
I love revelations. I love like remember Senegal 2002? Nobody thought Senegal would come out of that group alive, and they made it through. I don't know if they got to the semifinals. No, not quarterfinals, right? Uh, uh, remember with
Quarterfinals,
Hachiku
quarterfinals.
quarterfinal? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, like that was an amazing. I love those stories. So if Cabo Verde is one of those, I'm gonna be all for it, you know. But I just think that Uruguay has this like tradition, like just like we were talking about Germany not making it through first in their group would be like you know, like it would be taken as something like a crisis or something like that. I think it's the same for Uruguay. Like if Uruguay doesn't make it out of the group, it's gonna become like a crisis kind of thing. So I always think about these pressures because they sometimes matter a lot more in a World Cup than like in a friendly match where you can, yeah, maybe you lost against the US, but you know, like people are not paying that much attention at this point. But in the World Cup, everybody's watching, right? So I think that creates an extra layer of pressure and complexity. Anyways, this is your favorite
No,
group, right? Group I.
no. Now, group to close off Group H. The Group H
Sorry,
is
yeah,
going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of
yeah,
fun. Uruguay typically plays well at the World Cup. The older team with younger blood. It's going to be fun. Group I. Group I. If there was a group of death in this World Cup, I think Group I is as close as it gets. I think this new playoff situation with more teams kind of kills the idea of a group of death in many ways. I think it's more balanced teams, balanced groups. But France, we know who they are.
yeah,
Les Bleus, vous les connaissez. All right.
yeah,
And then you have Senegal, who another one of my chouchous, right? These are my babies, right? And the reason why they're my babies is not because we're brethren and not because we're francophone. I respect African teams that are figuring out their federation without corruption, without politics getting in the way, just playing amazing football. And that's what Senegal is. They will punch above their weight every time. And right now, they kind of have a golden generation, even
yeah,
with Sadio Mane being like 34. They are
yeah,
so good. And then you have Norway, Erling Haaland, the Viking, El Vikingo,
yeah,
trying to close that gap between him and Kylian Mbappe, right? The things that he's missing on his resume, World Cup, another Champions League, another Prem. It's a lot of things. But to close that gap between being possibly the second best player and the best player in the world is him showing out on the World Cup stage. So this
yeah.
is a group of death. And here are the playoff teams because we do have to mention them. They're uninteresting to me, but you have Iraq, Bolivia, Surinam. Gracias por llegar en ese punto. Gracias por venir. A mí no me importa quién se queda. I do
Yeah,
not care who, regardless of who comes out of the playoff, it won't matter. This is a
yeah.
three-team affair. France is team number one, but who is team number two, Goose? Who's team number two here?
That's really hard to say. I would say like so. I give it to you like Senegal. I love Senegal. As I was mentioning earlier, like you know the 2002 World Cup performance of Senegal was amazing. Was one of the best moments in football history. However, like I think last World Cup without Mane, you could tell Senegal was struggling a lot. So they really need like certain key players. You know, I'm thinking Koulibaly, Mane. So I don't know. I don't know how they're going to be able to overcome if one of these players doesn't make it to the World Cup for injuries because they're old too. And also, I think this is going to be one of those groups where the second place is going to be defined by how many goals they score to the whoever comes out of the playoff. You know, like Iraq, Bolivia, Suriname. We're gonna see like I think we're gonna see a tie in points, and there's gonna be like the goals are gonna weigh much more. In that sense, I would say Norway because of Holland has like like they could make it out of second place, tied with Senegal. That's how I'm envisioning it. I don't know what you think. My prediction.
All right. No, I like your prediction. It's a very good prediction. I always have to when it's this close, I have to go towards roster because yes, your superstar will make the world of a difference. And between Norway and Senegal, Haaland is on a different stratosphere than anybody on the Senegalese roster. But we have also seen with Haaland, and this is his particular shortcoming, is that if teams are able to muck him up and stop his drives to the goal,
Hmm.
then he doesn't really matter. You can take him out of games. It's hard to do, but you
Yeah.
can take him out of the game. And now you have to ask yourself the question, can Senegal take him out of the game? I'm not sure they can. So I have to look at the roster and be like, who can make a difference here?
Hmm.
So starting with Norway, here are players that stick out to me. Jorgen Strand Larson has not had a great season with Wolves. Wolves are just awful. He struggled with injuries, but last season, only 25 years old, he had a really great season with Wolves last year. Was kind of like a shining star. If he gets healthy, he could be really interesting. I'm not sure he starts. Surprisingly, Norway's best players are all strikers,
Yeah.
including them starting a 6'7" winger in
6'7" with what?
Alexander Sorloth. Alexander Sorloth is, they say he's 6'5", but that boy's like 6'7". And he has to play out wide because why would you waste Haaland on the wings?
Yeah.
Um, Antonio Nusa, 20 years old, young phenom, Wonder kid, who's really exciting. This is going to be a really great breakout for him. And so I look to him to be kind of like that creative force. Oscar Bob, who I always forget is Norwegian, Manchester City player, has
Yeah.
been in and out of the rotation. He got injured last year, but he was really exciting pre-injury. He's a player that could also make a difference and kind of get things back in his career back underway. So again, I've already mentioned 5 players that can make a huge difference. And I look at, I'm like, this is very interesting, but this is the midfield I'm looking at now. Oscar
Yeah.
Bob is more of a 7. He's not really an 8 or a 10. Might be forced into the midfield, which is intriguing. Sander Berge has played in the Premier League. He's kind of a 6. I think he's on Fulham right now. Um, he's a 6. He's a destroyer. He's not the best, but he's fine. Back line, the only one of note that I can name here is David Wolf, who's pretty decent, and Christopher Ager, who's currently a center back with Brentford, and he's pretty good as well. I'm not as familiar with their goalkeeper, so again, I'm listing players. I'm like, you guys can make a difference. This is interesting. Now to Senegal,
Hmm. Yeah. I see.
there's no one of note like Holland. But let's start in goal with Edouard Mendy, who's most likely still going to be their starting goalkeeper. We know who he is at Chelsea. When he was in form, was an incredible goalkeeper. He's in Saudi Arabia now. We don't know what form he has,
Yeah.
but when he was in form, he was really good. As far as African keepers go, he's probably one of the top 3 goalkeepers in the world. All right, defense. You have Khalidou Koulibaly. I like that. Six
Mhm.
five to put a little bit of muscle next to Holland. So I do like that. Abdoulaye Seck, respectable. He's a decent. Niakite, who I really like on this team. He is a center back with Bournemouth. And he has been kind of like the guy for Bournemouth in their center back line. So now you have 2 center backs, 6'3" and above, that can muscle Holland, can keep up with 6'7" Sorloth. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um, I also like with them right now, typically with African teams, you don't have a lot of like really great wingbacks. They do have El Aj Malik Diouf, who plays for
Mhm.
West Ham, and he's kind of been West Ham has been up and down, but he's been one of their better players this year. So that's where things get interesting. Here are other players that can muck things up in a Norwegian game. I'm gonna go quickly. Kamara. If you're not familiar with Lamine Kamara, look into him. He's probably gonna get a big move to the Premier League next summer. 21 years old. Idrissa Gueye 36, but he's still one of the best premier number 6s in the world. They have Pape Matar Sarr, who plays with Tottenham. Mane's still around. Ismaila Sarr is the difference maker, but the boy's always injured. But if he is not injured, it could be really special for Senegal. Final names here. Iliman Diaye, who right now I would say is a talisman for this team, special talent with Everton. I really like him a lot. Nicholas Jackson, I miss him at Chelsea. I do miss him
Nicholas
at
Jackson.
Chelsea.
Yeah.
I think he could be going to Blues right now with the way we've been playing recently, but I'm not going to get into it. So those are some of the names I'm listing. Team for team, I like Senegal's balance more than I like Norway's balance. But then Norway's more explosive, and that's where this game becomes really interesting. I could see them tying, to be honest with you, and
Yeah.
then it ends
Yeah.
up being a goal difference. And see, can anyone here actually beat Spain? And I think this is going to be one of those. Which team scores more goals? I think Norway probably passes because they score more goals, and Holland's capable of scoring 5 each game if he wants to.
he has a drive and he has like you were saying about like the motivation to beat Mbappe. So I think and he's super competitive. That's another thing that you have to factor in. Like he's like ridiculously competitive. So I think it's gonna be hard to pin him down for the rest of the teams. Even Senegal though, like player by player, like now I can see what you mean. Like they're very even. But in terms of like goals with this uh fourth team that is gonna come through whichever it
Iraq,
is,
Bolivia,
Colombia or
Suriname, es una
Suriname.
fiesta. Es una fiesta de goles.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm gonna
yeah,
lose my voice. I'm gonna be screaming golazo. That's how many goals it's gonna be.
yeah. That's where I'm gonna we will see the difference, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Let's go. Let's go quickly through Group J, K, and L. Less interesting than the previous ones. They should be pretty quickly to go through. Group J is Argentina, Austria, Algeria, and Jordan. We can agree that Argentina, Messi's probably last
Argentina.
World Cup, top favorite coming out of this group, no question about it.
Uh-huh. I think second place Austria. It's gonna be a tight one too between Austria and Algeria. I think because Algeria has good players, has like they've shown to play like in an organized fashion. They can they can pair up to Austria, but Austria I think is ultimately gonna go through. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very, very close. I will say this about Algeria. They only drew one time and only had one loss in their qualifiers. So they're a team coming in with a lot of form.
Yeah.
Too early prediction. I will go with Austria. This is showing a lot of European favoritism. So all my African fans, I'm so sorry. But look out for Algeria, Senegal, and all these other teams, and see how they do at AFCON because that will also let you know how they're going to show up in the U.S., Mexico, and Canada next year. Group K, Portugal, Colombia, Uzbekistan, and then the winner of Congo, Jamaica, and New Caledonia. I don't even know what that is. Um, Portugal, which in what should be Cristiano Ronaldo's last year at the World Cup, I believe he said this is his last one. Um, should be coming out of here as heavy favorites. I think it's kind of universal that Colombia, if Colombia
Yeah.
fails to finish second here with the talent that they have right now, it should be an embarrassment. I'll say I don't know. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
putting too much on their plate.
No. I think it's pretty clear cut. It's gonna be Portugal, Colombia. I think
Yeah,
for sure.
I do feel for Congo. Another team in the same Haiti bracket and Curacao bracket haven't made the World Cup in a long time. They do have a really good group. They had to beat Cameroon and Nigeria
Mm.
just to make it to the intercontinental playoffs. So all I'm saying is keep a lookout for Congo. Also keep a lookout for Jamaica. Jamaica has been
Jamaica. Yeah, I
quietly
was gonna
good,
say. Yeah.
and they're trying to recruit. I know he's problematic. I know he's toxico. I know no big club is going to sign him because he sexually harassed his girlfriend um, and was charged for it. But the young player who played for Manchester United, I'm blanking on his name, Mason Greenwood.
Oh
Mason
yeah.
Greenwood, I
Yeah.
don't like talking about him too much because I do not like to promote sexual violence by any means. But keeping it puro football, he's a player on form right now, and he's been absolutely ridiculous playing at Marseille. And there are rumors saying that he might be switching his nationality over to Jamaica. And if he does, that's a
Oh,
massive boom for them, and that could make things complicated for Colombia. So just watch out for Jamaica just a little bit. That's all I'm saying.
yeah. Yeah, I mean Jamaica has a strong team. They have a bunch of players playing the Premier League, so I think they have a chance. Like they did a good Gold Cup. I don't know if you remember they got to the
Oh
semifinals.
yeah, oh
So,
yeah.
like I think they could like I don't know how strong they are against Congo, like man to man, how it's gonna pair up, but they could make it through. Yeah.
No, it'll definitely be interesting. I think man to man, Congo's probably not going to have the names that people recognize because a lot of the Congolese players were players that really played. When you talk about passion, this is a team that played with passion. A lot of the players that had an opportunity to play for Congo chose not to play for Congo, but now everyone's like, I want to play for Congo. And
Hmm.
honestly, I say go with the players that actually want to fight for the flag. Um, Group L, England, Croatia, Panama, and Ghana. This is another fun group. This is probably the other potential kind of like group of death here.
Yeah.
Um, England, England's one of my favorites to win the World Cup. I think they're one of the top
Yeah.
five teams in the world, bar none. they're a heavy favorite. They should win this group with honors, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely, I agree. I think the second place is going to be super interesting in this group. A lot of people think that Croatia, because of how well they did last World Cup, but I'm skeptical about that prediction because Panama is doing really well. Like they're fighting, they fought their way through CONCACAF, and that's difficult for a country who's like historically played baseball, not soccer, and that it's been just like over the past 20 years that they've actually invested in soccer. So I think Panama might do like a pretty decent performance in this group. And Ghana is always a strong candidate. The IU's, the two Andre Ayew and the other one, oh, I forget his name. They're really
Uh,
good. Right?
they're both off the team
Yeah,
now.
yeah, they're both really good.
Andre and Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan.
Um, so here is, what is presumably going to be, their roster. I think Ghana probably finishes second in this group if I had to put money on it.
Yeah.
Antoine Semenyo, who's been one of the best Premier League players this year with Bournemouth, is on that team. Mohamed Kudus from Tottenham is
Kudus.
on that
Yeah.
team.
Mm-hmm.
Iñaki Williams is on this team.
Mm-hmm.
Kalmadin Suleimana is on this team. Salisu played in the Premier League is on this team. Tariq Lamptey is on this team. And these are just some of the names that I'm just recognizing right now. Names obviously mean nothing at the end of it because it all comes down to, is it cohesive? Do you guys actually like each
Yeah.
other? Do you have a manager that knows how to deal with the roster, both tactically and everything? But they're important to note because in groups like this one, sometimes it comes down to who has the best players. Croatia's good, all right? They're old.
Yeah.
That
They're
Croatia's
all.
problem is that they're old. But just because
Yeah.
you're old does not mean that you don't know how to play football. And I think people are kind of sleeping on the fact that Croatia made it here without having to play in the playoffs, which means that they have a lot of good football still left in them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. But I don't think it's gonna be like I mean, last two World Cups, Croatia has done a really good performance. I don't think we're gonna see the same Croatia in that sense because just because I think that a lot of like Luka Modric, he's too old, and they still need him. Like he's really good. I'm not saying that he's not playing well enough, but I don't think he's playing the 90 minutes that he used to play last 4 years ago, right?
He's 40.
So
He's 40.
yeah,
He's
he's
gay
40.
football all he has.
Yeah. So that's why I think Ghana can surprise and go through. Yeah, I can see Ghana as a second. I'd say Panama is really like it's not gonna be an easy rival, but it's gonna take most of the beatings here in this group. Yeah.
Gracias. Aquí está tu regalo. Que tengan buenas vacaciones. Disfruta los Estados Unidos. That's what we say.
Not I wouldn't say it's so like it's gonna be so bad for them. I think they're gonna stand up. I think they're gonna draw a couple of games, and it's gonna come down to goals. I think in this group too, like in the second place. Um, but it's not gonna be easy to score goals against Panama. Like I think that's the difference with the other group that we're talking about, the group K. But
Group
yeah,
K, Group I.
yeah. This is
Some
crazy.
teams just coming to get scored on.
Yeah, this new format is crazy. Like, well, this new addition of like 12, 16 teams is
16
gonna make
teams.
it. Yeah, it's gonna delay the big matches. Like the most interesting matches, which are gonna be further on. We used to see those before, like in the past couple of World Cups. We used to see that um, after the group, sorry, after like the group section. We would see right away like big matchups, and this time I
Right.
think it's gonna take a while, a couple of sections before we get there. Probably quarterfinals are gonna be super interesting, but yeah, before that it's gonna be very convoluted.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a lot. I mean, it's gonna be a different format. It's gonna be slower, but it is always nice, even though these footballers are playing. But it basically feels like 11 out of 12 months now. They really need a break. Um, it
Yeah,
is going to be exciting to have highly competitive football. It is nice with this larger format that countries that haven't been around for a long time are able to qualify, even if it's only in the playoff feature. But shout out to the teams like Haiti that have been able to, and then Cabo Verde that have been able to qualify without needing to go through the playoffs. So it is really exciting from a historic standpoint. Shout out to the smaller countries making it. To close things off, Goose, gun to your head. Who's winning to the World Cup? Who's
Oh,
winning the World Cup? I'm not saying what is the final because we don't yet know which big teams or
yeah.
which teams are going to be on which side of the bracket. But who wins World Cup 2026 in Los Estados Unidos in Giants Arena in New Jersey?
Gun to my head, I would say Argentina, but I think we're gonna see another France Argentina final. That's what I think gonna happen. Yeah, I think they're still the two strongest teams, in the world. Maybe Spain could be Argentina Spain final or something like that, but I think it's gonna be those three teams are gonna be like for me the ones that have more chances of getting to the final. But it's gonna be an interesting, like you were mentioning how, like, well, we were just talking about this, like the amount of teams that we have now. I think that's gonna make it interesting. That can throw in a wild card that we're not expecting. Also, this new format, because it's slower, it might give smaller teams chances to like improve along the way. Like to actually become better and understand better the rivals. So I don't know, like anything can happen, but I think those three are the favorites. How about you?
Gun to my head, it's always Les Bleus, but I think this it's always Les Bleus. It's always Les
Yeah,
Bleus until
yeah.
it's not Les Bleus. World Cup winner, World Cup finalist should have won. Sorry, Latino America, France should have won. But I think this year, I really think this is the year it's coming home, Goose.
Yeah,
I
I think.
really think this is the year it is coming home. I think this is the year that England finally take it back. I know the people are not crying. It's coming home like they used to back in the day, and maybe that's a good thing. All right, I think
Maybe,
that
yeah.
is a good thing. But I really do think that this is the best England team as far as depth, cohesion, identity that we've seen in a very, very long time. And I think the best thing that England did was hire a non-British coach. Tuchel, as we know with Chelsea, is a monster of a manager. He takes
Yeah.
no BS. You can already see him, how he's trying to steer Jude Bellingham. They've been clashing, and they're clashing because, again, Tuchel is no slouch. He's going to get these boys playing the greatest football the UK has seen since Sir Bobby Charlton. Okay. This is going to be a special year for England. That's my gun to my head prediction on who's
Yeah.
winning World Cup 2026.
Well, yeah, I mean, they made it to the finals of the Euro, right? And they did a pretty decent job against Spain. It came down to like one goal, right? That was
It was
the
one
score.
goal. It was
Yeah,
late.
one goal. Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah.
and I
And
believe they
so
made it to the
I
semis too of the
yeah,
last World Cup.
the only reason why I didn't mention England is because of this rift between Bellingham and Tuchel, and I don't know how he's handling the rest of the players. At least that's the only one that we like has been more publicly visible. But like I agree with you. Like he's an amazing manager, and England has an amazing team right now, so they could definitely win this. Yeah.
Now, it's going to be exciting. Goose, I appreciate you so much for hopping on Puro Deportes with me.
Yeah, thank you for
Eric,
inviting me. This has been fun.
for sure, but you're welcome anytime. Eric, we missed you, but I don't know. I might have to replace you with Goose the way he rocking right now. Um, but your Goose, we do this thing with all our guests, including Eric, obviously when he's here. But like you're working on a lot of amazing research and stuff. Like, where can folks go to show you love and support the amazing work that you do?
I guess you could go like I have social media and stuff like that. You can add me. Most of my social media is private, but I'm happy to accept people if I get friend requests. And yeah, and then, well, I'm a student at UT Austin, so I have like a website at the within the UT Austin directory. So if you find me there and you want to reach out, definitely please feel free to do so.
This is a scholar, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, I'm gonna put his socials in on our Spotify and our YouTube if you want to reach out, show him some love and some of the amazing research that he has coming up. Appreciate all of you guys listening right now, watching, for tuning into Puro Deportes, brought to you by Vida y Deportes. Make sure to go show us some love on IG, Twitter, Threads. We on TikTok. Facebook. If you're trying to talk business, holler at us on LinkedIn. Show us a lot of love. Leave us a like, a comment, the whole nine. We appreciate you for rocking with us. Cuídense mucho. If you are in Minnesota, maneja con cuidado. Do not go outside if you're not feeling the cold. Y'all be safe. We'll holler at you next time. Get well, Eric. Peace.